At the end of September, we gave you guys one of the very first sneak peeks at a prototype machine looking to revolutionize the pod coffee market by using whole beans, brewing as a pour-over, and also partnering with some of the top roasters from around the world to create their own brewing recipes that would then be duplicated exactly in your own home. However, as with any first look at a prototype, there were of course a few question marks about how the final product would look and function. But now, we have the final, delivered, polished version of the XBloom in studio, including the app and the widely asked about reusable brewing cradle. So let's take a look. Now, before we get going, I want to be completely transparent that this is not a review. If you do want to see my review, I'll have it linked up here. This video is being made to show the final features of the machine and is being sponsored by XBloom. Now, I know that is a little bit different than the norm around here, so for that reason, I'm going to be avoiding talking about my specific opinions in case that could be construed as bias. Instead, I'll be focusing on just showing the machine and features for prospective buyers who want to see how the final production version works. If you want to check out the system, I will of course have it linked down in the description below. With that being said, let's dive in. Unboxing the XBloom was a really fun experience to finally see it in its final form and ready to ship out to Kickstarter backers. In the box, you have some quick start guides, the instruction manual, a cleaning brush, and of course the machine itself. Along with this unit, I also received some X pods, as well as the stretch goal items that were unlocked throughout the Kickstarter campaign, those being some third wave water packs, as well as the Aurea Sense glass, which looks really nice. The main body of the XBloom has a high-end looking and feeling metal build, and as you can see, I received the final version in the alternative Galaxy Black finish, which is pretty slick. Some subtle changes have been made to areas like the grinding chute and the front display based on early tester feedback, which is good to see, but overall, the form and function remain true to the original concept of having a fully automated homebrewing experience without the sacrifices of a typical pod or super automatic system. The most basic way to use the XBloom and how I believe 95% of owners will use it is with the curated pods that XBloom have worked hard to develop with the roasters that produce the coffee that's in them. Different coffees require different grind settings, water temperatures, brew ratios, and agitation throughout the extraction to make them taste their best. This machine takes the responsibility of setting up all those parameters and leaves it up to the baristas and roasters who know their coffees best. When you tap the pod on the top of the machine, it automatically pulls all those settings associated with that particular coffee. Then all you have to do is pour the beans in the grinder, put the pod on the base, and press down to start brewing. The XBloom then takes care of the grind setting and pouring technique while you're free to walk away and carry on with your morning. In its most basic form, you don't need any apps or connectivity to brew a simple cup of coffee, which I'm sure many people, including myself, are very happy to hear. However, because XBloom is existing in the world of specialty coffee, they have also heard the feedback from creators like myself that people might want to be able to peek behind the curtain and learn a bit more about the coffees they're drinking, as well as tweak the settings used to brew them. I was really interested in how the integrated app for this machine would turn out, and now I can finally show it to you. When you tap a pod, you are immediately given background information about the coffee itself, including the origin, elevation, processing method, varietal, roasting level, and of course the tasting notes. Along with the background of the coffee, you are also shown a list of recipes that were developed by the roaster. You then have the ability to go in and tweak every single setting if you feel that you're enjoying the coffee, but maybe not necessarily the exact recipe that was set up. And you can even save that recipe as the default so that next time you tap one of these pods, your recipe is brought up instead. The list of adjustments is extensive, and you can see why XBloom wanted to handle the setting up of recipes for the vast majority of people. Each pour over can have different temperatures, different pouring patterns, different vibrations, different bloom phases before the next pour. All of these things are available in an attempt to as closely duplicate hand pouring as possible. And if you're someone who likes to tinker, then you have the option to take full control of that. Within the app, you also have access to some additional functionalities, such as using the XBloom as a standalone grinder. Simply select the grind setting and press go. On the same screen, you also have the ability to force a zero calibration. Now, the machine is smart enough to automatically do this after a certain number of cups. However, it is kind of neat to be able to trigger that manually. Another feature that many people asked about in my initial review was the ability to brew your own coffee using the XBloom. And for that purpose, they made a blank cradle that fits CaleddaWave 155 filters, so you can do exactly that. Just like the other pods, this blank version will have a default recipe, which you can assign for each time the pod is tapped, as well as have the ability to set up many more recipes in case you want to switch between multiple coffees on the fly. For example, having a different recipe for your afternoon decaf. You will need to dose 15 grams of coffee, as that's the dose that XBloom calculations are built around, but after that, this reusable pod functions exactly the same as the stock ones, with the exception that RDT is highly recommended as an anti-static measure, as that functionality of the grinder does not work as well with the blank cradle. Now, this is something that might be further improved down the road, but for now, this first version was just intended as a free gift for Kickstarter backers. In my conversation with XBloom after my initial video was released, there were a few ideas being thrown around that really piqued my attention. Most of all, the potential that this machine has to facilitate learning and education about coffee. Because all owners of this machine effectively have an identical, calibrated, and consistent way to brew at home, it completely opens the door for remote guided sessions on a variety of topics. Different processing methods, different origins, the impact of different brewing parameters. All they'd really have to do is create a pack of pods dedicated to each of these topics. Then it could walk you through it as you tap each one. It's a pretty interesting concept, and I look forward to seeing where they take it. So, I hope that you enjoyed this first look at the final production version of the XBloom. It's been a long time coming, and I have no doubt that they're going to continue to develop in future years. But in its current state, I don't think there's really any arguing that it's starting to shift the way people think about enjoying specialty coffee at home. As always, if you want to check out the XBloom, I will have it linked down in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and even consider subscribing if you want to see some more like it in the future. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.